Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I know it is mid-morning and I'll just straighten up my glasses, mid-morning in the UK. It is 8 p.m. here in the evening in Australia. And I know for all of our American viewers, I've done super early. And so we're up and away. So welcome to episode 2 of Perk with a Pundit. And I see A to Z EV is first, and Wayne, our first inaugural guest of Perk with the Pundit, is second. Welcome in. We might have a few less viewers this evening, our time, because it is stupid o'clock in America at the moment, but it's going to be a great interview anyway. And for our second episode, we have our first female and long-time local pundit fan and subscriber. I'm going to welcome in Hip Karma.
Hey there.
And we put a face to the name.
We do.
Welcome.
For one night only.
Welcome, David. Hi from stupid o'clock, obviously. Hopefully you're on the East Coast, because I know it's 6 a.m. there and 3 a.m. on the West Coast. So anyway, Hip Karma, welcome to Perk with a Pundit.
Thank you. Although I'm passing on the perk at 8 o'clock at night and going for the soft blanc.
And I'm with a Syrah. So, yeah, we've decided it's 8 o'clock in the evening. Cheers.
Cheers.
So there we go. Oh, my God, look at that. And it is very early in the morning. So we're going to get this started. We always start with a origin story. So give us a little bit of your history. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born at an early age and...
Who wasn't?
I know, right? It's that thing that brings us all together. I'm actually third generation Australian, and I was born on the Central Coast, about an hour north of Sydney, and that is in fact the same area that our pundit member Bruce McF has
yes,
lectured at and worked at. So this place is so small.
It is. We're a very small community.
I know. Yeah, we are 6 degrees of Wrexham. We are.
I like it. I like it. 6. So should we do 6 degrees of Rob McElhenney, I think, instead of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Oh, we should. I think we should eat that up. I think he totally would.
He would totally love that. He would totally love that. So Central Coast, third generation Australian. How did you get into Wrexham?
I got into Wrexham when I was actually in the UK on a holiday just before COVID, when I got stuck over in the UK. But I had heard on the radio that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney had bought Wrexham, and everybody was just stunned. At first they didn't believe it, and then they were stunned. And so I heard about it at that point. And then I just filed it away because, you know, life happened, COVID happened and whatnot. And I was kind of busy doing some stuff over there. However, it meant that as soon as Welcome to Wrexham came up on Disney on the feed, it was, I know that place. And because I love people and I love to help people, it's kind of the fundamental motivator in my life. I became really sucked in to Welcome to Wrexham and to Wrexham. And this, I need to give you context so that you understand just how significant it is that I became fascinated and addicted to Wrexham and football. Because in my 20s, I had a friend and she was a football fanatic. She went from Australia and travelled with the Kangaroos around Britain on a tour, the whole thing.
Which for everybody, before you go any further, that's a rugby league team. So Wayne's background, keep going.
Yes, it is. And one winter, she decided that she was going to convert me to some form of sports ball, any form of sports ball, except soccer, because she said she's not interested in the round ball. So she took me to a rugby league match at Queanbeyan, and the ball fell in front of me, and I'm going, what do I do with it? And she said, throw it back, throw it back, throw it back. And she was so excited, and I went, okay, that's good. No. She took me to a rugby union match at Marnica in this beautiful old oval where they had an old boys choir, and it was very, yes, wine was required.
No, you're doing well. Keep going.
And yes, it was wine, and it was very, very civilized, very civilized.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I cannot understand these rules to save my life. I don't care. Then she tried to convert me to AFL. So that's Aussie rules. And we had a visiting, a team up from Melbourne and a team down from Sydney. And they were playing in Canberra. It was an exhibition match. And now it's interesting to watch, but I was actually more fascinated from a sociological perspective in all of the fans who really were fanatics, who had come up 7+ hours on buses from Melbourne just to watch this game, and then get back in the buses and go back for 7 hours. And so whilst it was very interesting and appealing to watch the uniforms and the men run around in Aussie rules with the uniforms, it was infinitely more fascinating to watch the people and go, wow, this is a different kind of culture. So she gave up after that season. She gave up after, and she said, there's no hope for you. You're never going to get interested in this kind of sport. And that was it until Wrexham. Until Welcome to Wrexham, because it was the context of the people and the relationships and the impact that the club and the team have on that community and the surrounding communities that really drew me in. When I saw players as people and understood what that sacrifice meant to them, what that life choice meant to them, that's what drew me in. Yep. So it's actually the fact that I will now get up at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, depending on, we've got that coming up, summertime.
Yeah.
Depending on the time zone, to watch a match is probably incomprehensible to that friend of mine.
That's really interesting. Now, I'm just going to quickly say hello to everybody. So Chicky Brewer's in the house. Good morning, Chicky.
Hey, Chicky.
Matt from Racecourse Ramble is in the house. Good morning, Matt. And Dave's already said hello. Leo is Wollongong resident. There you go. Can't stay long since I'm in a business trip in Singapore. So we truly are a global audience here. That's what's happened with this football club. It's drawn in a global audience, and like us here along the local pundit have really embraced that. You know, we've got John Hampton there. Good morning. Now, Matt's mentioning about George Evans. We might quickly get into that. Sounds like he heard a crack, so he might have broken something.
Oh, no.
So we don't know that. I haven't heard official news yet. If you know something, Matt, from Racecourse Ramble, feel free to pop it up in the comments there. Although there was also another comment. So that's the bad. The good is that Max Cleworth's injury is a lot less than expected.
Oh, good.
So it sounds like he may be back a lot sooner than we think. But anyway, so I won't get too away from that. We might come to that later on in the chat. But and John's in Kentucky at 5:09 a.m. So good on him. But I do know that, obviously that journey and that COVID. So I was actually on a holiday in the UK just before COVID, which I think was 2020 from memory. Yep. So if I get that right. But anyway, so you're in the UK. Your friend tried to get you in. You took to a couple of different versions, and then you've been drawn in. And that's truly the Rob McElhenney effect and Rob and Ryan effect. And I would mostly give Rob the credit for that, for deciding to do the show. And then, so you got into watching Welcome to Wrexham and then started watching it back probably pretty much about the same time I started watching. So did you have, interesting, like I always like to ask, who's your favourite player? And I like to do a double end on that. Like, who's your favourite player now, and who was your favourite player when you first started watching?
Oh, when I first started watching, you'll probably see a pattern here. When it first started watching, it was Jordan Davies.
Okay, good choice.
And that's because he was a local. He'd come up through. He was so passionate about it, and he clearly had the talent to be making a difference. And then later, when you heard his story, my heart broke.
Yeah, that was terrible, wasn't it?
It was.
Mm.
It was.
So yeah, so Jordan early on,
Jordan
and then
early on.
he's left the club now, moved
Yes.
on as we've gone up the league.
He's on loan. He's on
Yes,
loan.
yes, he may come back hopefully because I do have a bit of a soft spot for him. But now, who would you say your favourite player is this season?
So, in keeping with the pattern, my player this season is Maxi.
Okay.
Again, he's come up through. Unlike Jordan, he has been largely under the radar within the terms of like the documentary and such. But he was there, and he came in. He made the best of his opportunity, and he's just quietly been working away and just improving and improving. And then, like at the end of last year, when he added scoring to it, he's just gone through the roof. And so I've been so pleased to see his growth and progression. And then it's so good to hear that it may not be as serious as we thought, because when I saw that, I was like, no, well, he's on such a roll.
Well, he is young and vibrant like you and I, Hip Karma. So he would bounce back from injury quite quickly. and yeah, I mean, what a great thing coming up through from junior ranks up through the academy and now into the starting line. And seriously, like, you have to say, when he comes back from injury, you'd have to think he just deserves his spot straight back.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay, interesting.
As much as I love him, I don't necessarily agree with that. I do agree that people should be given chances and people should be given opportunities. From my perspective, and I'm just going to veer slightly off topic, but actually it's on topic. One of the reasons I think we were so chaotic in our last game in particular is because these people haven't had minutes on the pitch together in this kind of real match situation. Yeah, sure, they've played in training, but they really haven't been given the opportunity to become cohesive and to understand where people will be on the pitch and to trust that that's going to be the case. Because when when you're uncertain and you don't necessarily trust where someone's going to be, you're going to try and do it yourself. And I think we saw a bit too much of that, or certainly enough of that was indicative of a lack of faith that someone's going to be there and they can pass it and offload it and get something to happen. So within that context, I believe that people should be given an opportunity, and if you are performing well, you should be given the opportunity to stay there. Should Max be given an opportunity when he's fully fit to be coming back in and getting minutes first and then see how he goes and work up to a start? That's much more my approach within that space.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that, because I know that you've been like a great sounding board for Josh, founder of The Local Pundit, and helping him out through the times back with his stuff, with his work and everything else, and helping him with the channel. And I know he greatly appreciates that. So, I mean, I think for all the people listening and watching down the line, today, and also that will replay it later, give some context around that, because I know you do coaching, like coaching people in terms of personal coaching. So tell us about that.
Okay. So from a historical perspective, I help people. I've always liked to help people. I've coached in sports, not anything sports ball, as you can probably guess. And I've been a wellness coach. And these days I coach executives, I coach professionals, and I coach high-performing teams. So coaching and performance and helping people through space, particularly as a change coach, is what I do. And it's what I'm passionate about. And that is why you will always see me arguing for there is still good to happen. Change is still possible. This is not the end, because it isn't.
So explain that to me, though, a change coach. So, like, for me, I don't understand what that is. So let's give that to the people.
Okay. A change coach can be a coach that deals with a particular person or a team or a group, and it's to help people through a change process and to cope with change. Because change happens in our life whether we want it to or not. How we respond to change is entirely up to us. However, we have a natural tendency to perform or react somewhere on the curve. And that can be someone who embraces change and is an early adopter, such as myself. And it can be people who are kind of, I can be convinced, but I'm not overly thrilled. And then there are the people that's like, I don't want it. I don't like it. I just want it the way it is now. Why can't it stay that way?
Okay.
And it is helping all of those people to go through a change journey and to experience it in a positive way, and to bring people, particularly the ones who are more resistant and who are less likely to be swayed, along that journey, and to understand what that change process is, why it can be beneficial for them, or what their options are. So from that perspective, as opposed to just being a life coach, I am a change coach. And that's why I kind of go, there's next match.
Yeah.
There are other options.
As a change coach, do you see things like, I know, like in my previous guises of my life, I've been taught to read body language. And so can you see that in body language or as well, or also in conversation? Is that sort of something that you can see?
You can do it in both. I mean, because it's a scientific fact that we process and interpret only, say, 25% of our communication through words. So much of the rest of it is body language, it's intonation, it's Cheryl speaking like an Italian because she can't stop using her hands.
Giving away hints there, giving away hints.
It's probably one of the only things that's not in my background. I'm Heinz. I'm 54 different kinds of kind of heritage, but Italian's not one of them, although it must have been in a previous life for the amount of Italian food I eat. It is more about, for me, and change, it is more about understanding people and having people understand what is happening to them and what they can do about it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because John here in Kentucky, he said, I didn't watch any sports at all, just never got into it. Then I watched season 1 of Welcome to Wrexham and I never missed a match. And I think that can be said for a lot of the fans. Then he said, I resisted the change to digital photography as long as I could, but I finally had to give in. So he's obviously a photographer, John. So that's great. Interesting. You would have an interesting story as well. I mean, and I guess with this change, management, this coaching that you do you see anything in the players or the coaching staff when you're watching now?
Within what context? Because I have to say, when I first saw the psych that Parky has retained for many, many years, it was something that was really reassuring to me. I kind of thought everybody there has the capacity to access a safe space to talk about their issues, to discuss and reflect and potentially work through any concerns that they might be having. Do I see things? What I see from my perspective is that there is the supports in place to provide options and a safe space for both the players and the behind the scenes staff.
Okay.
And that's incredibly important. It's incredibly important to do that.
And I guess in a long season, that's vital because there's going to be highs, lows. We started the season great. We're now feeling a little bit of pressure. So all these things, I'm sure some of the players and that would need access to people like that right now.
At every point. At every point, because the reality is that success will not happen all the time. Therefore, and happiness is a reward emotion. You don't feel happiness 24 hours a day. It's not possible. And in the same way, as I think it was Wayne said in his interview, you're not going to win every game of the whole season. It's just not possible. People aren't happy all the time. Success doesn't happen like that. And I have been, and I know I've been, one of those little voices that have said more than once on the show, we will not win every match. We won't. It is statistically not possible. It's not going to happen. And we have to be prepared for that. And I think one of the real challenges, in fact, as a Wrexham fan, and particularly if you're a new Wrexham fan, as many of us are, is that Parky has created an expectation of success. Because when you look back and, you know, only 30 games lost as a statistic, and he loses a game and people call for his head. Or remember the first match of last season, and people were walking out before the end of the game because we didn't win the first match at home, and the sky was falling and the world was ending.
We have very short memories, don't we, as fans sometimes, because I think of now, like, you know, and I'll class us as new fans, obviously. And then you think of the fans, like you just mentioned, that were walking out of the stadium after that loss, and they would be the majority, very long-term fans that would have seen the darker days back in the previous owners and the struggles for survival and the club nearly going under. And then for that change to come into to what they class as their organisation, like it's part of their family, Wrexham Football Club, and then all the changes happening and all the success starting to happen, and then you get into that mentality of winning. And Wayne was mentioning it last week, which I found very interesting because, you know, I know that mentality, and you know, you go through those highs and lows as a sports person, and when you're winning all the time, it's you expect to win, and your fans expect you to win, and then when you don't, it's almost like they take it personally, like leaving a stadium early. It's a very, you know, and it also has, you know, to do with culture, different, you know, like if that was a Japanese, for instance, a Japanese team, no one would leave the stadium. It would be seen as disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, we're all different. And so it's very interesting. Actually, here we go. So, Dan Moore, how many of those are new fans? How many of those are new fans, Hip Karma? I think that most are old fans. Yeah, well, he's right. Those fans that were leaving the stadium. But that's what I guess I was just pointing out right there. And I mean, what do you think about that mentality around that change for them and what they've been through compared to us?
It is that, as you were talking about, it's that expectation of success now. And because so many games were won in the National League and it became a given that we would win, us and Notts County.
And Stockport the year before that.
Yeah, and Stockport the year before that. But the thing is, we have incredibly short-term memories. But if you're on the pitch, as Wayne was so eloquent about, you lose, it throws you. And Park even said it in the last interview. They scored it through us. And it did. It did. Yeah. Because our team now, in that success, in that winning psychology, is used to scoring the first goal.
Mm. And I mean, I guess Stevenage is probably the worst team to have a goal scored against you early, because then they just go and sit and make it very hard for you to score after that. And Parky mentioned in one of the interviews, because I am subscribed to the Leader. I know Josh reports on it every day. And he mentioned that, you know, we just didn't get enough attempts on goal. But interesting here, John sort of mentioned, I've been really impressed by the old fans taking us newbies under their wing and teach us, which I think is fantastic. And that's essential in clubs' growth. I mean, if there's no new fans, then a club dies, because all those fans that are there eventually, to put it really harshly, die, and then there's no fans at all. So you have to get new fans. So I think that's really important. And I don't know I don't know what you think about that comment from Dan. Most pundits are saying that the new fans are knee-jerk types. I mean, what do you think of that? It's very hard to...
It's a generalization, and as such,
You can see Matt's comment there. Yeah, you know, and he's a local. So, and he Racecourse Ramble, he does a great podcast. So, guys, you should definitely, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I'm going to take Kip Karma's. She's always doing it for us in the comments. We really appreciate it.
Like and subscribe.
Yep, and Matt, we love your show and love getting that local on the ground. And you know, he's out there pounding the pavement not only for the fans but also for his fitness.
He is indeed. He is indeed. And I do. I listen to Matt every week.
Yep.
And there's been some interesting outfits recently. Not Matt's, but those who know. Yeah. I have been incredibly grateful for the welcome that older fans have given us. I'm incredibly grateful for it. I'm grateful that they share their knowledge, particularly when they talk about other wins and great players who have come before, different gaffers. It's wonderful to have that. Yes, it was, Matt. You were quite right.
I did see that in his show. I thought that was a classic. So if you want to get the little tip on Kip Karma's reference to outfits, you have to go and watch Matt's show. So Racecourse Ramble. So yeah, but it's interesting with the fans. You know, I mean, look, we're going through this journey now, and I believe that, you know, that there's I've seen some comments from old school fans that mentioned, you know, they're worried that Rob and Ryan might sort of just build it up and sell it off. I'm of the exact opposite mentality here. I actually think, especially, you know, and this is no comment on Ryan at all. It's just that I feel I have a better understanding and a better connection with Rob as a person and understanding him and what drives him as a person. I think he is in it for the absolute long haul. I think he wants to own Wrexham for a very, very, very long time and take this club all the way.
I agree. And his passion is so evident. He really wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's lovely to see. And I would suggest that his competitive streak will mean that we will get a stadia of at least 30,000 to meet St Andrews. When he may have said 50, but I'm thinking of what can actually fit around the racecourse area if you can buy back some from the uni.
Well, if he listens to Paddy, he can flip it 90 degrees and have a 60,000 seat stadium without any worries whatsoever. But yes, I agree with you.
But along those lines, wasn't someone commenting, I think it was in Discord, that the reason that it is the way it is now is because previously it was 90 degrees different, and the sun is in the eyes of the goalie for that entire match at that end. And that's why it was moved.
And I also was thinking about that when Paddy mentioned there's a possibility to do that. Pitches are typically faced in a certain direction because of how they sit on a compass. So, you know, north, south, east, west. So they want to, you know, avoid the sun in certain directions. And we always seem to play to, you know, the tech end in the second half if we can. Yeah. So it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, look, Racecourse Ramble, there he is. 30K, 20K to 25 would be ideal. It's going to be amazing. Like, you look at this now, and we played Birmingham and it was like a 30,000 odd from memory. It might have even been slightly higher, but I know the Charlton match coming up, the stadium is 27,000 and there's 3,000 seats for away fans. And so if Charlton go and fill their allocation, 24,000, that's going to be an amazing environment. And if for Matt at Racecourse Ramble, like, if we do fill that if when we're watching that game, that'll be a very interesting feeling for size and context to what we're thinking of building.
Yeah, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see that there are these plans. It's exciting to know that they are redesigning what's possible with the stadium and how it's going, how it can just become more cohesive and fit more in.
Yeah.
Not like sardines, but more.
Yep, and different things, and we're getting some comments about that now. But I really want to get back to more on you. We've sort of gone down the Wrexham route yet, and we're here to learn about our fans. So, I mean,
Okay.
we've asked you we've asked you who your favourite players are. We've asked you about your change and your life as a coach is really interesting. I mean, I guess, is there anything that do you see yourself maybe going to games in the future at some stage? Do you see yourself? I know you're planning to move, and you're going to be moving closer to where in my neck of the woods in your future. So that's in your future. But what's coming up for you, do you think, in your Wrexham journey?
Okay, so part of my future, yes, I'm moving up your way in the next few years, but my intent has always been for the last 10 years is to spend part of the year living over in the UK. Now, for 18 months during COVID, I lived in Glasgow. And
Okay.
so, yes, the weather was interesting. Snow was lovely when you weren't driving in it. And it's not that far from Wrexham. So would I go? Yes, I would definitely go to a game. Okay. Would I be in the COP, the temp COP? No. I want a roof. I don't care about the fan zone. Give me a roof.
Yes. And if they're all sold out, sounds like we might have to get Josh to pony up and get you a corporate box.
Well, yes. Or the shamelessly big mad owl who may have access to a couple of tickets.
True. I mean, another local supporter that we really love. And he hasn't popped in here yet tonight, our time, because the comments haven't gone severely sideways, as we know Mad Al always does.
Indeed.
Yeah. So you'd like to do some time of the year over in the UK, some time of the year back here in Australia. They're two very different climates, but it would allow you to indulge more in now what has become a little bit of a passion, I guess, following Wrexham.
It absolutely will, and I will probably look to build a client base again over there so that I can actually earn some money while I'm over there as well. I did some work for a university in Glasgow, and I would happily do that again as a coach. Well, when you think about it, particularly during COVID, face-to-face staff and team and employees had a really, really hard time of it. They really did. And so those people had a serious need for coaching and helping them through this change process, because they're dealing with their own change, they're dealing with COVID, and then they're dealing with university students.
Well, Wayne's saying, I'm thinking, is there a possibility of a Hip Karma consultancy job for Wrexham Football Club? Would you enjoy that?
Would I enjoy that? I believe I would.
And your girlfriend would be truly shocked by that, from someone that wouldn't follow any sport to becoming a consultant at a football club.
I would have to send her a postcard.
Well, I think you'd be very good at it, because knowing in just our conversations, we've had obviously a few conversations offline, private chats and things like that, and I do find you very intelligent and very insightful, which is why I was really interested to see you to get your thoughts and share your thoughts with the fans. So is there anything else that you think the fans would like to know about you?
Things the fans would like to know about me. Well, if they have any questions, please put them in the comments.
Yeah,
things that they'd like to know. They already know I cook.
I was going to mention that. Yes, you do have a very. I'm very. So you're not good for my waistline. Sometimes you make me hungry. So you love to cook. Yep. What else?
I love to cook. I love to sew. That's what this is here, hiding something messy underneath.
Yep.
I love to travel, and one of the reasons that I want to spend part of my time in the UK is because I really enjoy the people. I enjoy the culture. I love being able to, and you can attest to this, pubs in Australia are very different to the pubs in the UK. You will not find me in a pub in Australia. It's not my scene. But I will happily go and spend hours in a pub in the UK, having a chat, sitting down, enjoying just the atmosphere and community.
Having a meal and a drink.
Having a meal, getting lost, and particularly in Scotland, and I expect almost definitely when I spend more time in Wales, because I've only been to Cardiff. I have been to Wales, but only to Cardiff. I'm sorry. I do love a Welsh cake. Let's not go there.
Southerner.
Oh no. But I'm trying to pronounce anything in Welsh is just going to be the adventure of a lifetime, I suspect. Yeah, things I love. I love animals. I have 5 dogs at the moment. I will work it down to 2. I think someone asked.
You're answering David's question.
So, what kind of dogs do I have? I have an Irish Water Spaniel. Points if anybody knows who that is or what that is. I have an Irish Water Spaniel. I have an English Springer Spaniel who I got to keep him company. And yeah, about 6 weeks after I purchased her, I came home to strange noises in my lounge room in the dark, and I thought, did I leave the radio on? What are you thinking, Cheryl? You don't listen to the radio in the morning. So I turned the light on, and lo, on my white leather lounge on the duvet, she had given birth to 6 puppies. So yes. 6 puppies. And that was an adventure. 3 of them, after I interrogated people fiercely, found homes, and I still have 3 that I have to find.
That's how the 5 dogs come about.
That's how the 5 dogs happen. 2
adults. And how old are the puppies now?
Oh no, they're young dogs now. They are teenagers. They are 2 years old. But he didn't. It wasn't his fault. She was pregnant. She was pregnant when I got her, and I thought she's putting weight on. I'm not feeding her that much. And just as well, I'm a change coach. That was a learning curve.
Right.
That was a learning curve.
Instant mother by shock. Yep.
It is.
Okay. Well, interesting. Okay. And do you have any other pets, or is it just the dogs?
The dogs are more than enough. The dogs are more
than enough. Yep. So you're on the Central Coast now. Whereabouts on the Central Coast was it?
I was born in Wyong, and I was raised in a place that was called Canwell, that is now called Hamlin Terrace, and it's now tract housing. But in regard to that, and thank you for asking me, something else that the people won't know is I'm a petrol head. I am an unashamed petrol head. I started on mini bikes and go-karts when I was about 7, and I've been driving cars since I was 8. So I do love a good car. I do not like American muscle cars. Do I like European cars? Yes.
So what's your dream car?
I've had one of my dream cars. I've had a couple. I had for those who like classic cars, one of my first cars was a 1960 model Carmen Ghia. So it looks like one of those old Porsches, but it's not.
Okay.
I've had one of those. I've had an Alfetta, which is a 2-litre Alfetta, and it was a sedan, so it was a stealth petrol head car, which was wonderful. I have a good story about that, in fact. Does anyone remember the little Suzuki Mighty Boys, those tiny, teeny little utes with the 800cc engines? Anybody remember those? Well, when I was at uni, my best friend, who's still a dear friend, had a Mighty Boy, and I had an Alpha, and we went up to visit her parents about an hour and a half away, and we were driving back, and her dad is a bit mechanically minded. He was a truck driver, and he had delimited. So it was no longer speed limited, her little Mighty Boy. So if she got on a little bit of a slope and just floored it, she could wind it out. And so she wound it out, and I was sitting behind her because we were going back to uni, and I'm sitting behind her, and she wound it out to about 130 kilometers. And I was pretty impressed. And then I looked over to my left, and there was a police car. There was a police car by the side of the road, and you could literally see him looking down, looking at her in her little mighty boy, and looking down again. And he didn't come after us. I think he thought there must be something wrong with my technology if we're reading 130 on a mighty boy.
100 kilometers an hour.
130 kilometers an hour on a mighty boy.
Okay, so roughly 90 mile an hour?
Yeah, I'd say about
85?
85 to 90 mile an hour.
Yeah, wow. You were hooking. Just
Yes.
giving everybody the conversion there that I could in my head quite quickly if I got it wrong. So you're a bit of a lead foot.
I have been known. My most dangerous vehicle for my driver's license points was my 3-liter Porsche Macan. I loved her, Black Betty.
Oh, that wouldn't have been too long ago.
No, it wasn't. But I did have to sell her during COVID, having been stuck in the UK throughout an unexpected period of time.
My cousin is the head mechanic at Porsche here in Brisbane. So there you go. But
be careful. I will get another Porsche when I get up there.
So, John, that would be scary. Drew does whatever. Good morning. Now, Drew did actually put the question mark in the Discord, saying, "Is it hip karma?" And I just had to keep it under wraps and say, "Keep guessing, Drew," because I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. So, yeah, Drew, you were right, and welcome this morning. And Bruce, thank you for getting. I was a little bit high, but yeah, thank you for giving us the correct speed there for the conversion. So, okay, so you love cars. Interesting. So, do you like watching car racing?
No, I used to watch Formula One. Words, Cheryl, words. I used to watch Formula One years ago, but not for many years. No, I would rather drive myself.
You're a doer. You want to be out there on the open road.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay, interesting. Well, I know the area that you're planning, that you're sort of telling me that you wanted to move to back up here in and around in Queensland, and there's some beautiful roads around there to go driving. So I'm sure you'd have a great time in and around there.
Yes, there are indeed. Other things that people might want to know about me: I've contributed to a couple of books. I'm not telling you my name though, so you're not going to get them.
Well, I think you've given away your first name a fair few times here, so I'm not going to, and that's all I'll say.
Yes, I probably have, but that's about it.
No, okay, so contributed to a couple of books. Well, that's interesting to see. So, I mean, you don't have to be an athlete. Like, I found it very interesting talking to Wayne last week as a professional footballer and his context in relation to Wrexham. And I was I was very nervous that people would be nervous to follow him because he was a footballer. But I knew, knowing what you do, and it has just as much context to the team and how they perform, and your job as a change coach and your coaching career in all facets of life, I think is a thing that a lot of people take that don't really understand how important it is for all walks of life.
It's true. I will share a story that I've been tossing up whether or not to share. It's important to understand the value of resilience and understanding that even though things can be bad, they will get better. So it's 2019. I am going over and back to the UK to establish a business, to do some training over there and continuing to work here. And on September 27th, and it's very timely now, September 27th, it's a Friday afternoon, I go into a medical appointment. I get told I have 2 different kinds of breast cancer.
Ooh, okay.
And I take it reasonably well. I discuss with them what that can mean, and I am told that I won't be able to get in to see a specialist surgeon or a surgeon for at least a week, although certainly within the next 2 weeks. And so I thought, well, I'm going to fly out. This is a Friday afternoon. I'm flying out on Saturday morning or lunchtime-ish to go to the UK to, again, do some training and business in the UK. And I come home and I bought a house with my younger brother, and I had cared for him during a bilateral lung transplant because he had been a smoker. I don't have much tolerance for smoking. I will say that now, and this is why. He had had a transplant 18 months before, and I had cared for him, and then I was looking to do my next plans in life, and I was doing that. And I came back and I told him what had happened, and I said, I'm getting on the plane anyway. There are things that I can do. There's nothing more I can do here. So he drove me to the airport, got on the plane, off I go, get on stage, talk to people about my journey, come back, and I am told, I get a message from someone at work saying, is Peter, that's the name of my brother, is Peter going to be at work today? And I don't know, not there. And he went missing. He went missing for over 48 hours. We had people searching in the bushland around my house for him. I had a friend who had keys to the house. She came in, his car keys were here, his wallet was here, his phone was here, and he wasn't. And it was a bit of a shock to hear over in the UK where I can do nothing. And then I find out 6 hours after that, and so it's still the weekend, that people were looking for him. And then within 24 hours after that, I found out that he had died. He had died within 24 hours of me being diagnosed with cancer. So I had to come back to Australia and to manage my own cancer journey as I buried my brother. So life can happen and turn on a dime. And you can be thinking that your life is going to go one way and everything is sunshine and roses and you're empowered and you're confident, and then life does that.
Yeah.
And then you have to decide what you're going to do from that space and move forward. And then you decide what resilience is for you and what that journey is. And within the context of that, I had previously created the 7 C's of conscious change, and I was trying to apply that in my life to move through. And one of my goals that helped get me through this period of burying my brother and then surgery and then waiting to have radiation and then radiation and the rest of it was to have a goal and plans and to achieve in small steps. And one of my key goals was to be back in the UK before my birthday, which is in February, in order to take my life back. And I did that. I achieved that. I went over there where the plan was 5 weeks over there, and then come back for about a month, and then prepare to go overseas again and be over there for an extended period. And 2 days before I was supposed to fly back home, Qantas stopped all flights, and that's when I became stuck in the UK on a visitor's visa instead of going back to the UK after shutting my life down here and putting it in storage and going back on a business visa. Wow. So it's still possible to grow and adapt. Part of that involved me having to sell the car in order to fund until I got on my feet and got work there, and getting a business visa there in a different way. And it's all challenge, and it can be really, really dark as people go through change and challenge. But it's choosing and making sure that you understand that where you are now is not where you will be, but how you're going to get there and who you'll be when you get there is up to you. And that's why I say, when we lose, yes, we lost, And then there's next week. And then there's the next month. Because we are not going to stay in stasis. I am not going to stay in this space. I'm not going to stay in this emotion. And they're the same. The coaches and the crew will turn around and say, okay, that game's done. It's gone. Next. And that's the attitude that they take. And that's what being a personal success and winning on a personal level means. It's how you choose to respond. And there's a difference. There's the reaction that people have. Shit happens. Some seriously bad shit. And everybody has a story where shit happens to them. And you just feel like it can't get any worse. And you get there. But it's what you do after you encounter that, after you experience that. It's what you do after that that defines who you are and how you choose to live your life. And that's why sometimes you'll see me and people will go, oh, she's Pollyanna, she's rainbow, she's unicorns. No, I'm not. I have gone, my instinctive reaction, my first chemical reaction will go, well, that's shit. I didn't like that. They were useless. How did that happen? And I distinctly recall in one of the last two games, it's like, how many times is Barney going to get it down the end and put it across the goal and nobody be there? I do that. That's reaction. But then I stop and I choose to respond. My first chemical reaction, my instinctive reaction is this. My conscious response is, and there's next week. And that game is done.
I'd like to see you on the sideline as the manager. I think that would be. I think there's some entertainment right there.
I don't want to be a manager, but I would be.
I can see the emotion because you're change coach and you're coaching, but I think your passion in the moment might come out first.
The fan is passionate. The coach cares about how they're performing and how they're responding to their performance.
Yep.
How they're coping. That's what the coach worries about.
Yep. And good morning, Deandra. And Jake had mentioned there, we put that up before, just showing some sympathy there for what you've been through, which is a tragic time in your life, obviously, and a very rough time losing your brother, and that rough time for yourself personally through your own problems with cancer and so on and so forth. And Kent's comment here, a support group meetings disguised as a Wrexham AFC podcast. Well, you never know what you're going to get here on the Local Pundit. And to be fair, I let this journey go where it goes, and because people have a story and this is fantastic stuff. It's really interesting to hear. And I think it's really important for us as fans. And that's what I love about what Josh has created here with the Local Pundit. He's created a community where everybody feels like they can be involved and they can be included. And we want to be inclusive, and for anybody that is out there, that hasn't been on the Discord yet, I'm going to pop the link up in the comments. So it is there for you now. If you haven't joined the Discord, feel free to click that link and join, because there's lots of good stuff in there. You can go to Something's Burning page and see what Hit Karma's decided to make this week, because she pulls off some amazing culinary delights. I will definitely say that. And then there's all the good stuff, like, talking about the club, talking about, the upcoming shows that we have here on the Local Pundit. Matt from Racecourse Ramble, who, posts his shows up in there. So, you can go over and watch his shows. It's all there. And we want everybody to feel like they can be part of this community. And, I applaud you for coming on this week, because your story is fascinating. And, I don't know whether there's, are there any other little nuggets? Did you want to talk more about the team maybe, and talk about what you think you can see in our future this season?
My belief hasn't really changed from before we started the season.
Oh, okay, then. Well, if it hasn't changed, well, then we can just go with what it is. Let's go.
And that is that we will be upper mid-table probably contesting for playoffs. That's my hope and expectation. I choose not to put that kind of pressure on the team that you're first, now you're second. You've got to stay there. There's how many more games to this season to play? We're only up to 10.
Yep.
There's too many. It's not going to happen. And let them experience the peaks and troughs, because they're going to go off and then they'll get better again. It's the cycle. Seasons go in cycles, do they not?
They absolutely do. And on that, I'm going to share this screen for the fans so that you can talk about that, because there's the table right there. You know, we're 8 games in. We're sitting. Well, we've played 9 games. We're sitting in second place on the table, and you're saying you think we'll be mid-table fighting for the playoffs. So
up and mid, fighting, contesting for playoffs.
Okay. So there you go. So, and you know, as you said, we're very early in the season. So, of the teams there that you can see, who do you think are the teams that are going to be threatening us the most?
Well, we don't need to worry about Birmingham, because they're going to be all out on their own.
Okay, I think a lot of people agree with you there.
I think when they lose, it will be few and far between. Honestly, I really do.
Yep.
Who do I see? I see Mansfield. How do we think Mansfield Town is performing? I think they're performing quite well.
I think they're slightly overperforming, which is great for them. Yep.
And I don't want to give Stockport County too much time of the day. I'm interested in whether Blackpool will continue to do well. If you hear any noises, I apologise. It's my dogs at the door to this room. I'm in this little space because it's a dog-free zone.
And they're feeling left out, probably. There we go. Kelly did mention that it was going to, on the Discord, that it was going to be too early for her. She's just woke up and she's very happy to see you on the screen.
Hey, Kelly, good to see you.
So, yeah, I mean, you're sort of saying there you don't want to talk about Stockport. You're going to be interested to see how Blackpool's going. Well, what do you think of Lincoln City then, who sit just below Mansfield?
I don't know enough about Lincoln City. I honestly don't. So I will be one of those people who is going to go around to like the Red Horde's Who Are You series, and to Racecourse Ramble and others who talk about what the teams are like in League One, and learn more there. Because I didn't know about League One. Wrexham weren't in it. Why would I care?
There's a pretty serious review show called That's a Wrap on the Local Pundit, which seems to run flawlessly every week without any hiccups.
I've heard that. I've heard a rumor of a legend of a show called That's a Wrap on the Local Pundit that is just seamless delivery, run by total professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not going to, and you say you don't know enough about Lincoln City, and for a lot of the people, they're going to have to wait a little while, because obviously our game against them that was coming up this month has been postponed.
Yes.
Which I actually think is a blessing in disguise, just quietly, because it's going to give us quite a nice break. Which, right at this point in time, I feel like the team needs a little bit more time on the training pitch. And we've got Northampton at home this weekend. Then we've got our Bristol Street Motors Trophy game. And then we have 11 days off before we play Rotherham away. So I feel like, we were talking about this massive October that we have coming up, and now it feels like we've got a bit of space.
Some breathing room.
Yeah, breathing room. Yeah. So, I mean, that's sort of interesting looking at the table there and how everything's going for us. I mean, we talk about all this doom and gloom, and we've had a draw and a loss in our last 2 games, and it feels like the world's coming crashing down. And then you look at the table and we're sitting in second position. So it's not all bad.
No, it's not. And I will say, and people can grump at me for it, it will get worse before it gets better. We will drop further down and the world will not end. I remember so well last season when we were in 4th place and the world was ending.
We weren't gonna get automatic promoted, and
Oh
we were gonna
no.
have to go through the playoffs, and we weren't, and it was all doom and gloom.
And parking needed to be replaced, and yeah.
And then we came home like a proverbial train.
That's it.
Came crashing through. And if you think this stuff's gonna happen and we're gonna drop down a little bit, hopefully we do the same as last season and finish on that, snowball effect with a little bit of luck.
That's my belief. One of the things that everyone says, and I agree, is that even when we're playing badly or less well, not to our ultimate potential, shall we say.
Great.
Even when we play like that, we don't quit. We don't give up.
No, and Parky threw everything at it the other night with the 4-4-3 and the old version of it with Mullen and Marriott and Palmer all on together. So I think it was a great show of who we are as a team in terms of not how we play, but of our mindset. Yeah. John mentioned he has to go work on his car. So catch you all later. So we'll see you later, John, over there in Kentucky early morning. And Kent has mentioned the Bristol Street Motors Trophy will be a great chance to check the match form of some of the peripheral squad members. Brunt, Josh Adam, maybe. That would be great to see. What do you think about that? Or maybe another chance for Farl. I definitely think Mendy will get minutes. What do you think?
I'm thinking that they're going to have to put some minutes in for Farl. I would like to see Brunt. Mendy's been showing some speed.
Yes, he has.
My goodness. He really is at the moment. Really happy.
Rathbone coming back?
Pardon?
Rathbone hopefully coming back?
I hope so. I hope that's not a recurrence of the foot injury, the bone bruising that he had. And yes, Kent, I hope a few minutes for Max.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and if the news is correct, that was on X today for us and overnight for some people, that the injury is not as bad as first thought. We may see him back sooner than we think. And Bruce has made an interesting comment there. Not giving up is going to convert some losses into draws and some draws into wins. It could be worth up to 10 points on the table.
I think it's a very fair comment. It's a very fair comment.
The Habis faction, Habisfication, sorry, I'll get it correct, which is, I wonder whether that's a reference to Californication, which was one of my favourite shows. Harry Ashfield is really good prospect for the midfield. I enjoyed him in the last Bristol Motors Trophy.
I did too. He came in and he made impact, and that's the best you can ask for. You can ask for. He made positive impact. So, yeah, give them a run.
As we go up the leagues, it becomes harder and harder for these guys to get a run in the main squad because obviously you're playing tougher competition. So, I mean, this is the importance of, things like the academy, which is going to get built at the school by the sounds of it. So that's fantastic news, I think, for us as a club. I think everything's looking really great for our future. Your thoughts on that?
I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I have said before, and again, an unpopular opinion, I am fine with us having to stay another season if we don't get up this season. For me, it's not the end of the world. There's so much that needs to be done. That academy is looking great. So many more pictures than I thought.
Yep.
From that graphic. I wish I could have seen more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think there was talk about something like they ideally wanted something like 7 fields. Just crazy.
There's masses there. And
so
whilst
stay down a season, spend 20, 30 mil like Birmingham and get ready to go straight up to the Prem, go bounce, or maybe not.
Well, I'm thinking that if we end up staying 2 seasons in League One, there will be more of that. There will indeed be more of that. There'll be more capacity. My question then will become, will that involve us taking on another owner, another investor, in order for that additional injection to occur? But from the perspective of consolidation, The men's team is what, three more years at Collier's.
Yep.
And I remember Humphrey saying that they don't want to do more than that at Collier's because Collier's isn't enough for them. They want more and better facilities, and that's fair, given where they're pushing to be. So that facility has to be built, and they need to finalise a total design for the stadium and particularly for the COP, and there's so much to be doing. What I did like, and I found encouraging, I saw on one of the other channels observations and commentary about the new CEO and how he's creating a really good relationship with the council, getting on well with them, regular meetings between Rob and the council now. This is good. This is good. If we can get smooth that way, get the yeses. Get the yeses, because the council, they can't be that silly. I mean, and I'm not saying that they are. Okay, let me be clear. I'm not saying that they are. But they're
watching, you know that, don't you? You know they're watching.
It's not that they're watching now, but it's on the internet. It'll be here forever now.
That's true.
The observation was made that they have become more media savvy and more PR savvy, which means they are smart enough to understand just what a budgetary and cultural impact this injection, this ownership has created for the area. So logically, you would be looking to facilitate in a compliant manner. I have worked for government to facilitate in a compliant manner that redevelopment and the capacity to bring more people in to Wrexham and spend their money, frankly, because that's what the community needs. Money spent.
It's growing the community. It's injecting money into the community from new fans.
That's it.
Bigger sponsors, better facilities. All these things are going to do wonders for the town of Wrexham. And I myself am all for that. I think it's fantastic. And, it's interesting listening to your thoughts on it and how you've, thrown a different perspective than what sometimes, because we all think in our own way, and to hear another voice really can open up your mind to other possibilities. So it's been very interesting listening to you this evening for us, and good morning to other people around the world. I think we might wrap it up there. I think we've done very well. We've been going for nearly an hour 10. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we disappear?
I'd just like to say that I really appreciate the community that Josh has created, that has attracted people such as yourself and Aaron and Sheldon and everyone else. Kent, Kelly, there's Mary and there's Mary and there's Marie, all of these wonderful people who... I didn't get that. No, Siri, you're not that wonderful.
And Siri.
And Siri, who's a lurker. All of these wonderful people who come together and spend time and share their thoughts and share their energy and excitement around Wrexham. I'm not sure I understand. No, you wouldn't, Siri, really. I didn't think to turn Siri on.
We're doing Perk with the Pundit with a special guest, Siri. Courtesy of Steve Jobs. God bless his heart. What an innovator.
Yes. Oh, and I like Wayne Evans's comment. Yes.
Yeah, Wayne, very clever. And and David has said, thank you for sharing your story. I think I must say I've really, really enjoyed this evening. It's been a fantastic chat. And for all those out there, our members, subscribers, if you haven't subscribe, like the show. If you want to become a member. There is new stuff coming for members in the future too. Just a little sneak peek. There's going to be some great stuff for our members coming up, which is going to be members only. And so really looking forward to that in the Local Pundit future. But Yeah, and lots of people, and I knew there would be lots of people that would love you. You are definitely a fan favorite in the community, Hip Karma. I will definitely say that.
Oh, thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you, Bruce. That's lovely. I appreciate it.
Why? Thanks for coming by, Siri.
Points to Wayne. Points to Wayne.
Yeah. And I mean, Wayne, the only thing that Hip Karma said to me before this show was that she wanted to get her lighting better than yours. And I think she's achieved that. And I think you're both very interesting in your own ways. I'm not picking favourites. We've had 2 Australians so far in Perk with a Pundit. We're going to go further afield next week. We haven't chosen a guest for next week, but if anyone would like to be on the show, feel free to message me in the Discord. The link is in the chat. We would definitely be more than happy to have some of our people on. There's been some people in this chat that I will be earmarking to send messages out to because I really want to get some of these interesting characters that I see. And, Kelly's saying she can't wait to go back and watch this interview from the beginning. It's great. Watch Kelly. And I was a little bit disappointed. You said you only got up that early for your horses. So I understand. I was a little bit hurt, but I'll get over it. And Wayne saying, easy, I'm low tech here. So, look, floors to you. What would you like to say in conclusion?
I'd just like to say thanks, everyone. I have such a good time here every day. And I am grateful for all of the fun that we have in the chat. And you can accuse me of being rainbows and unicorns all you like when I make a positive statement, but that's probably because you haven't heard me go, shit, at the TV during a watch along. Because I've reacted and then I'll respond. But the other thing I really want to say is...
What? You engage your brain before your mouth, I was going to say.
Indeed. The other thing I really want to say is please come on. I really want to find out more about the people in our community. We have awesome people in our community, and I'm really looking forward to spending more time with you, putting faces to names and hearing your stories. So please come. Contact Ken.
Contact Ken, yes. Well, Hip Karma, cheers. Thank you for coming on this evening. And what's our sign-off?
And on that bombshell.
Well, guys, I can honestly say that was well worth the watch. If you want to hear the full story on Hip Karma, and you may get her name if you watch carefully. Not too hard, to be fair. I didn't give it away. That's all I'm going to say. But she was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Second episode of Perk with a Pundit. Looking forward to doing more of these with more people in the future. And all I can say for now is see you next week. And on that bombshell.